God is here with us this morning. And God loves us. And God doesn't want anybody. It's not God's wishes for anybody to perish. But it is God's wishes that we should all repent. We should all turn from our wicked ways and seek after Him. Now, I found some statistics on the internet, and it should show us that we, as Christians, we need to take a stronger walk than what we have with God, because there is going to be a place that we all going to have to go when we leave here. It don't be a day that goes by that somebody hasn't recorded something on the internet. They've gone to heaven, they've gone to hell, what they've seen after they died, and so on and so forth. You know, so to me, it's not difficult for me to receive God by faith. About every 1 out of 5 Christians have read the Bible this week. Have you? Think about it. According to the statistics, not even 10% of Christians are involved in spreading the word about what Christ has done in their lives. According to the statistics, only about 10% of the people who even claim to be Christians will even attend church this morning. Only about 10% of those that claim to be Christian will even be in church. Does that go keep them from hell? You know, you read these signs in front of the churches that you go past, and they say, you don't have to do anything. Jesus has already done it all. So I guess they get the idea they don't even have to go to church. Or they don't have to do the right thing. They can do whatever they want to do because Jesus has already done it all. A few years back, I remember preaching a message that I had overlooked a while back here. And I preached a message. I said, some of our people are so full of Christ in here this morning, if they got bit by a mosquito, the mosquito would fly away singing, "There's power in the blood."
Amen.
You remember that? Yeah. Been a while. Is it still the same way today? No. Think about it. Where's the people at today? What are they doing with the Lord today? You know, is your mind and your thoughts on Christ this morning? The Bible gives us some keys about us receiving by faith. If we turn to Hebrews chapter 11, please. As I begin in verse 1, he says, now faith. Now that word now, you know, I'm looking in the King James Version, and there is no comma there. It just says now faith. It doesn't say now and then faith. It says now faith. That means the kind of faith we should have should be right now. Not tomorrow faith, not this afternoon faith, but right now. Because he says now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, if you talk about having faith, you're saying, I have faith that God is going to heal me, because you haven't seen it. Now, if you go to the doctor and say, doctor, give me some pills so you can heal me, is that now faith? Or is that hope? I hope these pills you give me work and I'll be okay. But what is now faith? Now faith is acting on something that you're hoping for. It's the evidence of things you haven't even seen come to pass. Okay? He says, verse 2, for by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith Abel offered up unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained a witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts. and by it he being dead, yet he speaks. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him. For before his translation he had this testimony, that he pleased God. Verse 6. What does verse 6 say, Marie?
But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
Now, do you think not coming to church or only 10% of Christians coming to church is pleasing God? Do you think that's walking by faith when you don't read your Bibles? Isn't it walking by faith when you don't talk to people about your walk with God? How is it that we claim to be Christians and we claim to live by faith, and yet we look at these things in our life that are not of faith? Faith is being sure, now faith is being sure of what we hope for, and is being certain of things that we do not even see. Now, if you can see it, like, okay, I'm gonna save up my money, and I hope I can buy me a new car. That's not faith, is it? That's hope. I'm hoping I can buy me a new car if I save up my money. Faith is, I'm hoping God's going to do this. Now, I don't know how He's going to do it. I got no inkling of how God's going to do it. But I have the faith that He's going to do it. You see, there's a difference. And that's what I'm talking about this morning. Faith is something, if you have to believe God. God said, okay, if you ask anything in my name, I'll do it. But whatever you ask, He said, where 2 or 3 of you are gathered together in my name, He said, there I am in the middle of you. So if you'll ask anything in my name, I'll give it to you. So why is it when Christians pray, I hope God's going to do this for me? Huh? Is that faith? Huh? That's not faith, is it? That's maybe even hope. I don't know if it's even hope. It's like I told you that this woman, years ago. She wanted to drive her car up over this hill. In the wintertime, she was afraid to drive the car because it had ice and stuff on the hill. And they driving up the road, and Mom was sitting in the back seat. She said, "Whoa, wait a minute! Stop the car! Stop!" When we're driving the car, he pulls over. What in the world? I got to get out. I got to go over here and pray. So she got out in the car. She went over there in the bench about halfway up the mountain, where you could stop and get water in your car if it run hot. And with a bench, you could sit there and pray or whatever. So she'd get out there, she'd get on that bench, she'd get on her knees and pray to God and say, "Lord, move my mountain. Because I can't get over this mountain by myself, and my kids don't want to take me to church all the time." After she got done praying, she got back in the car and off they went. And they go to talk to her. She said, "Well, God's going to move my mountain." But Mama, and this went on for years, come up over top of that mountain. Every time they'd come up over that mountain, "Stop the car! Let me get out! I got to go pray!" So she'd get out there, get over on that bench again. Boy, after about 10 years, you go over there and you could see the imprints where Mama's knees had knelt on the ground praying. There were dips in the ground every time. It was just for her knees where she'd get over there and pray, "Lord, move my mountain." Well, it went about 20-some years went by, and that mountain was still there. And the kids saying, "Mama, you're going to have to settle down now, because Lord ain't going to move your mountain. All these years, if the Lord was going to do something, He'd have already done it for you, Mama. He must not hear your prayer. What's wrong with you, Mama? Stop the car!" Mama got out and prayed. Got back in the car. Went a little ways up that mountain. There's a road guard up there, standing out in the middle of the road with a flag, stopping the cars. He pulled up the first one in line. He said, "Hey, what's going on up there?" He said, "Well, you know that new governor we elected?" And he called his name out. "Yeah." They said, "Well, he likes to go to this golf course on the other side of the mountain. He don't like going up over this mountain. He told us to move it." He said, "So we digging this mountain up, moving it." Don't tell me God don't hear your prayer. He may take a while. You might not get it when you want it. But He's going to be right on time. It's always going to be right on time. Move my mountain. That's all. Just move it. We understand by faith that God framed the universe. You know, people talking about the Big Bang and how they look back and how they did this and how they did that and all what these scientists have to say. But do you know something? God created the heaven and the earth. He created the earth before He created the rest of the universe. Did y'all know that? We're not just a planet drifting around out in nothingness. God has His hand upon us. He has His hand. Read your Bible. The Bible will tell you He created the sun and the moon and the stars after He created the earth. And it's the earth. It's not the planet Earth. It's the earth. We are different. We are not the same. He says, God looked at Abel and the sacrifice that Abel had made. And He said, "You've done a good job, Abel." I have no doubt that Abel is with the Lord right now. By faith, even though he's dead, he still speaks. Look at some of your grandparents that you remember. And they was in the faith with the Lord. What did they tell you about how God works in their life and how God has worked? And they're reaching out from the grave to you right now. "Come unto me, all you that labor," Jesus said, "and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." We're working ourselves to death on this world trying to get this and get that, have this and have that, and where is it getting us? Faith is reaching out from the dead. "Hey, I'm here with the Lord. Won't you come with us?" By faith, Enoch was taken from this life. So he didn't even experience death. He walked with God. And he pleased God. And God took him home. He couldn't be found. Because God said, "Hey, we're closer to my home than we are yours. Why don't you just come on home with me?" What would it be like to walk with God? What is it like for you today to walk with God? With Enoch, before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. But the Bible says without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone comes to Him, first off, must believe that He exists. That's the problem, see? People can't walk with God because they don't believe He exists. And so what are they doing? They call God a liar. You don't even exist. Who are you? I'm here all by myself, and I got here, and I did this, and I did that. People calling God a liar. He rewards those who earnestly seek Him, He says. In verse 6, there are 3 keys to receiving anything from God. We must genuinely be sincere with God. And that means we must genuinely believe God. Whatever God has to say, you have to believe it. You know, to receive God's reward, we have to diligently seek after Him. You can come to church till the cows come home, but if you're not seeking after God, you're just here asleep or showing up for church just because you didn't have nowhere to go or somebody made you come or whatever reason you're here. If you're not seeking after God, you're not going to get nothing. Because that's one of the requirements, that you diligently seek after Him. Anyone comes to God must believe that He exists. So if you're not seeking after Him, it's because you don't believe that He exists. Think of Abraham, the patriarch. He lived in what they call polytheism, which is idolatry in Mesopotamia. And God told him, Abraham, I want you to come out from amongst your people and go into a land which I'm going to show you. And he left everything. But God revealed Himself to Abraham. And when He revealed Himself to Abraham, Abraham believed God. In Romans chapter 4 and verse 3, what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. It's counted to you for righteousness if you believe God. Do you believe God this morning? Would He lie to you? If He did, what would be His reasoning for lying to you? Now, the devil's reason for lying to you is for what? To get you into hell, huh? But God's not willing that any should perish. Faith is being sure of what we hope for. And it goes even a step further. It's being certain of things we don't even see. I know I built my house upon a rock. I know my house is built upon a rock. My kids didn't want to believe in God. Oh, well, you know what they taught us in school, Dad? Jesus is dead. There ain't no God. We came out of the ocean. This is what they taught my kids in school. They might not live like they should live all the time now, but they all believe in God. They all believe there's a God. You know, we see God created the universe. The heavens, Psalms 19 and verse 1 says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork. We see God in... Look how God intervened in your life. I remember Junie and Mark coming in here one day. They was going to Morgantown or somewhere, and a tree was about to fall on their car or something. What was it, Junie? And God spared you all? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Think about the times that God has worked in your life and He spared you. I watched a movie here, I forget the name of it, a while back. Oh yeah, it was a Machine Gun Preacher. Good movie. You get a chance to go on YouTube. It's on YouTube where we got to that. It's called Machine Gun Preacher. And this guy was in jail, and he got out of jail. Kind of reminded me of myself, a lot of it. And anyhow, God called him. And he says, you know, he said, I was out one day doing some stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. I'll guarantee you that. I was wrong. I was doing some bad stuff. He says, you know, I was out in the woods and I had some of these guys chasing me. And I had my backpack, which I usually carried my sawed-off shotgun in. He says, you know what? I reached in that backpack to get my shotgun out of it. And he held up his Bible. He said, my mama done went into my backpack and took that shotgun out of it and put this Bible in there. And he says, I thought I was doomed. I was going to be killed by them guys that were coming after me. And he said, so I just stood there holding that Bible. And he said, them guys come running right up there And he didn't see me standing there. Said I was just standing there, and they just ran right past me and didn't even see me. He said, I didn't think nothing about it. I shoved that Bible back in there and went on back home, got my shotgun and put it back in there, and I went on living my life like I was living. Didn't think no more about it. I was out one day, years ago, doing something I know I wasn't supposed to be doing, and several guys were approaching me. And I reached in the side over here and I pulled out a 9mm pistol. Lock and load. Had my finger on the trigger like that. And held my hand down. And then chasing up the road looking for me. I'm standing there in broad daylight. And they ran right past me. Like I wasn't even there. I didn't understand why. I can tell you today, it's because God had his hand upon my life. Because he looked ahead in time. And he's seen me, not where I was, but where I'm going to be. Where I'm going to be. He made me invisible to them people. Just like he did that preacher. God has his hand on you in times that you don't know. And you may not give him credit for it. But when you look back upon your life and you see the things that you have gone through, how could this be? Why am I still here? What has God got for me? We begin to understand who God is. We begin to believe. We begin to get a clearer picture of this awesome God that we serve. And God said, let the universe come into existence out of nothing. He created us out of nothing. By his spoken word, we exist. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. I believe that. I believe every word that's in this Bible. God parted the Red Sea so Israel could cross over. And yet he drowned the Egyptian army in the same Red Sea that he saved the Israelites in. He drowned the whole Egyptian army. In Exodus chapter 14, verse 21, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. Verse 22, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were as a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. We're not talking about a mere few inches of water here. It says a wall of water was on their right hand and on their left hand. It was God who knocked down the walls of the fortified city called Jericho so his people could conquer it. Joshua chapter 6, verse 20. So the people shouted with the priest, or when the priest blew the trumpets. And it came to pass when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people looked up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And one of the things, if you read this chapter, God told them to kill every man, woman, child, dog, cat, everything that had breath in it, for them to kill them. Think about that. You want to go up against a God, you don't stand a chance. Why are you having such problems believing in God? They have found Jericho. And they have found the walls of Jericho, just like the Bible said, crumpled down, fallen flat. But just believing God is not enough. James chapter 2 says, Thou believest that there is one God? Thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. You might believe there's a God, and when things are happening to you, and you're fixing to run off the road in your automobile, and there's a cliff right there, and somehow or another, you're sitting there shaking in your pants, and you've done wet your pants or dirtied your pants or whatever you've done in them. You're sitting there still alive looking over that cliff wondering, boy, I sure made myself good that time. Boy, I really kept myself from going off that cliff. Was it you or was it God? How could you have done it while you was messing in your pants? But you know what? You're gonna take the pat on the back for it. But if something goes wrong, God, it's your fault. You're gonna blame Him for it. But when it goes right, I did it. I did it. Isn't that just like people? Yeah. You know, do you really believe that there is one God? Even the devils believe and tremble. James chapter 1 verse 5, If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. Verse 6, But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wind, or wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. For let that man not think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. If you're wavering this morning, and you came to church, well, I'll see what God has this morning. And if He proves to me this, or He proves to me that, then maybe I'll do this, and maybe I'll do that. You ain't going to get nothing from God. Not with that attitude. You have to believe that He is, and that He exists to begin with. And then He will reward you. Not, oh, well, prove yourself to me. I have people say, Lord, if you'll do this, then I'll believe. God says, if you believe, then I might do something for you. If any of you lacks wisdom, He said, ask of God. Do you need something this morning? You can't figure out how to do something. I've done worked on this and worked on it and worked on it, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how to fix it. Lord, can you help? Certainly He can. Lord, will you help me out here a minute? I'm having a little trouble. Ask of the Lord in faith, nothing wavering. He's going to show you how to do it. No matter what it is, He's going to show you the way. If you lack wisdom, ask of God. He'll give it to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt. Because if you ask and you don't believe, you're not going to get it. I know God's going to give it to me when I ask, because I believe. And I don't doubt. Because God, let me tell you something, God is pleased to reward us who are faithful. He's pleased with that. He loves to do that for us. We can read about the faith of Noah, and we can read about the patience of God in Genesis chapter 6. But James also tells us in verse 3 of chapter 1, knowing this, that the trying of your faith works patience. I I've been trying and trying and trying and trying. Man, Lord, I need patience and I need it now. Is that going to get it for you? But the trying of your faith. If it doesn't work the first time, oh well, I'll do it again. And again, if I have to do it 1,000 times before it works, I'll do it 1,000 times. I preach some messages out here over and over and over. Just use a different way of preaching them. Over and over and over. And why? Well, it didn't work the first time. Try again, right? That's where patience comes in. Some of you need a little more patience. Oh, well, I tried to start that lawnmower. It wouldn't start. Kick it to the curb. I have pulled up with lawnmowers until I got blisters between my fingers for pulling the cord on them so many times. Yeah. Because I know I'm going to get it to work. Because God is going to do that for me. I have that faith. If I keep on, God is going to supply my need. Whatever it be, God is going to supply. In Genesis chapter 6, you know, most of the time when people think about Noah, they think of the flood. But you can learn a lot from Noah himself. Jesus told us in the book of Matthew that the wickedness of our society would be like it was in the days of Noah. And it was going to be the same way when he returned. The Bible says in Genesis 6 and verse 1, came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born unto them, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. So the women didn't have nothing to say about it, then, did they? And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man or Adam, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So God gives Adam and his people 120 years to repent. He gives them 120 years because God knows it's going to take 120 years for Noah to build this ark. Verse 4 says there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that. And when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, they were bare children to them, and the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. So God gives a warning. Verse 5, God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Look at your own self. Is your thoughts evil? Face up to it. Have you been doing good things or bad things? Have you been using people and you've been using God? It repented the Lord, verse 6, that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. Can you imagine God being disgusted for even creating us? And being grieved? I mean, he felt badly about even creating us. The Lord said, verse 7, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast and creeping things and fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Verse 8, Marie?
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
You can find grace in the eyes of God in this wicked and messed up world that we live in this morning, just like Noah did. You can find grace in the eyes of God by being right with God, doing the right thing, believing God. We don't have to follow the world. We can believe God. And if you believe God, he's a rewarder of you for seeking after him, believing him. He talks about the generations of Noah in verse 9. And he said, Noah was a just man, and he was perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. Are you walking with God this morning? You don't have to have a sign on your back saying, I'm walking with God. You don't have to have people down at the hardware store when you walk in, oh, he's or she's walking with God. Your walk with God is a personal walk. It's going to show in how you live your life and the things that you do. Are you walking with God this morning, or are you walking with the devil? Enoch walked with God, and God took him home. Noah walked with God. Verse 10 says Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then it says in verse 11, the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. He didn't say planet there. He says the earth. God doesn't call this a planet. He calls it the earth. God said to Noah in verse 13, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Think about that. Is God so disgusted with people today that He wants to do the same thing? Think about where you're at this morning. Are you walking with God? Or something else? Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. Read that, please, Dory. Read verse 6 and 7. Hebrews chapter 11.
But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
We could save our whole families. They might be wanting to go to hell. They might have, the devil have convinced them that hell ain't going to be so bad after all. We got people thinking what Jesus did on the cross wasn't so bad after all. But see these spikes that I'm standing in home? How would you feel if they drove these into your feet and your hands? Huh? Wouldn't be so bad after all, huh? A Roman soldier, after having beaten him, which a lot of people died from the beatings that they gave him, or they ripped so much flesh off of him, had a crown of thorns pressed down upon his head, and then so weak he couldn't bear the cross to drag it up to the place of the skull, that they had to have another man drag it up there for him. And he was so beaten and wore down that he collapsed when they laid him down on the cross. And they nailed his hands and his feet. And as they stood the cross upright, there he was, and it hit the bottom. You could just feel it tearing in his hands and in his feet. Now what does he say to all that? He looked out upon the crowd and he said, Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. But Genesis chapter 6 and verse 13, God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence, and I will destroy the earth with them. And so he tells Noah to make an ark in verse 14. And he tells him how to make it and gives him all the instructions. And verse 22 says, thus Noah did according to all that God commanded him. So did he. Now look at Noah's faith. Here's a man, he didn't have a Bible like we have it. He talked with God. He prayed. You can pray and God can answer you. And when you pray, do you believe that He's going to answer you and give you what you asked for? Oh, I hope God's going to do this. That's not faith. That's hope. I prayed for Phyllis back here several years ago when she was sitting there. When we got done praying, somebody said, well, Phyllis, you think God's going to hear you? I hope so. She's buried in the grave now several years. Folks not going to get a church. You're going to have some faith. Now faith. Not just some faith. You're going to have some now faith. You've got to believe God right now. You got somebody that's sick and dying? Got somebody that got cancer that you know of today? You know what? God will move on your part. If you want to walk with Him, God would just love to heal somebody for you. Yeah, because He loves you so much. He wants to give you whatever you ask of Him. You know, in Genesis chapter 7, verse 5, Noah did according to all that the Lord commanded him. Can you say you're doing that today? Can you say you're doing that today, or are you holding back from God? When God tells you to do something, are you doing it all He says, or are you holding back? The Bible says Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Verse 23, Genesis chapter 7. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, little children, yeah, babies, yeah, cats, dogs, everything, even the birds. They were destroyed from the face of the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. Do you want to face the wrath of God? In Genesis chapter 8, we look at the worship of the serpent after the flood. Go forth, verse 16, thou and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth thee with every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, verse 18, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, every beast and creeping thing and fowl. Noah builded an altar, verse 20, unto the Lord. Why would somebody that didn't believe God, why would they build an altar? Think about that. Why would somebody who didn't believe in God would even bother coming to church? The thing is, believing God and doing what He says is two different things, isn't it? Huh? Because you can believe God, yeah, I know He exists. I just ain't going to do what He says. Is that the way you're at this morning? Think about it. Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl burnt offerings on the altar. God blessed Noah, chapter 9, and told him in verse 1, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And He says in verse 9 of chapter 9, I will establish my covenant with you and your seed after you. God wants to establish a covenant with us this morning. Follow me. This is the way. Walk you in it. And I'll make you prosperous. I'll give you good success. But you have to believe me first. And then I'll give you whatever it is you want. He says in chapter 10 and verse 32, these are the families of the sons of Noah and their generations in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So it was Noah's family that we are descendant of today now. Because all of our family's tree ends at the flood. Everything is gone before the flood. And now we are the children of Noah. Now, we look at Noah and he serves us as a lesson of longevity. Yeah. He serves a lesson as a laborer, a light. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you'll find it. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receives, and everyone that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. You know, what do you need from God today? He wants to give it to you. Oh Lord, I need to be rich. Okay, give me a minute. Huh? Okay, give me a minute. A day with the Lord is like 1,000 years, huh? How long is a minute? It's not the part about the money that God's interested in, because He owns everything, including you. What is it that you ask for then? Lord, I need to have good health. Lord, I'm hungry. Lord, I need some clothes. What is it that you need from God today? You got all these wants, but what is it that you need? You don't need anything, do you? And why is that? Is it because God has already supplied all your needs? Oh yeah, you still have some wants. Oh, I want a new car, I want a new house, I want new clothes. He didn't say He was going to give you all your wants. He said He's going to give you all your needs. You know, if you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Heavenly Father give to you good gifts? God is going to do for us more and more. God is a giver. God is a rewarder. It pleases Him to give you things. Anyone who comes to God must believe that He rewards those that earnestly seek after Him. If we look in Luke chapter 11 for a second, and verse 5, He said to them, which of you shall have a friend, and shall go out unto him at midnight, and say to him, friend, lend me 3 loaves. For a friend of mine in his journey is come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. And he from within shall answer and say, trouble me not, the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed, and I cannot rise and give thee. But I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him because he is his friend, yet because he is of his importunity, he will arise and give him as many as he needeth. You go to God. Remember the woman? 20 years, God moved my mountain. You go to God and you need something. Lord, I need! How often have you got it yet? Then keep asking. How much do you really want it? Do you want to be free from your diseases? Do you want to get that stuff out of your life? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to believe, or are you going to say, yeah, well, God doesn't do that anymore? Like we went to that church in Payton City, and before the pastor ever got started preaching, he got up there and he said, now, and he named this church there, and he says, God is not doing miracles today. We want y'all to know that. And if you're here this morning thinking God is still doing miracles, this is not the church for you. So me and my wife got up and left. It wasn't our church, because we believe that God is still doing miracles. You know, we seek Him not just for answers to prayers, but we seek to know Him. We seek to be in His presence. If you're not seeking to be in His presence, then whose presence do you want to be in? God, leave me alone. Get away from me. I ain't got no time for you today. In Psalms 105 and verse 3, the Bible says, glory ye in His holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord. Seek the Lord in His strength. Seek His face evermore. You know, Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 12. Then shall ye call upon me, and you shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And you shall seek me and find me when you shall seek me with all of your heart. Are you seeking God this morning with all of your heart, or are you just saying you have faith? Just saying it ain't going to cut the mustard. Just saying that the cucumber's going to lay there and rot. You'll never get it cut up to make a cucumber sandwich, or a tomato sandwich, or any other thing to eat. Oh, I just love to have a tomato sandwich, but I'm not going to cut that tomato. Well, you're not going to have no tomato sandwich then, are you? Jesus said in John 14:1, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. You know? How do you do that? You earnestly seek Him, don't you? Follow after Him. Desire to know Him better. Spend some time in prayer. You know what? Chuck told me one time about him praying standing on the bridge. And he says, you know what happened? I said, I can imagine. Yeah. And he went on to tell us about things happening. I've been here for a while. Maybe you've forgotten some of the things you told me and said in this church, but I haven't. Because God's got them wrote down. Here. God's got them wrote here. Not here. Because this is gold. Yeah, it's gold, but what's here? It's the heart. It's with the heart man believeth unto righteousness. And then it's with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. It's not with the brain we believe, it's with the heart. It's with the heart we have faith. I believe. There it is. God is going to accomplish what He says. Because I believe. John chapter 14, verse 1 again, please. Read it.
Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me.
And then what's He say next? For in my Father's house are what?
Or many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you.
He's going to prepare a place for you. Do you want to go there? How many people are going to have a place to go in heaven and say, I don't want to go to heaven, I'm going to hell? Oh, if you can forget that heaven stuff, I'm going to hell. How many people will go to hell today? Oh, no, I don't want to go to hell, but I sure don't want to go to heaven either. Well, wait a minute. You don't want to go to hell, you don't want to go to stay here. I like it here. Well, this world's going up in flames. There ain't going to be no more of this world. When God, when God decides, hey, it's closing time, you're going to have to be somewhere. Either up or down. But you're going to be someplace. Now, turn to Revelation chapter 20, please. Verse 11. One of the men of God, named John, specifically, he said, I seen, verse 20, or 11, I'm sorry. And I saw a great white throne. Now, if you happen to be at this judgment, you're in deep mess. Because this is not a judgment of who's going to heaven or hell. This is a judgment telling you that you are going to the lake of fire. That's what this judgment's about. I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away. There ain't no place found for heaven and earth. Well, where are you at? Where's he see this great white throne at? Huh? And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. They're not kneeling. They're standing before God. And what does he say?
And the books were open, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the book, according to their works.
And who all did he see there? I saw the dead.
Yes, small and
So
great.
all of them were dead. That means they're not in heaven, they're in hell. Okay? The sea gave up the dead which were in them. Death and hell delivered up the dead. Even the people in hell were standing there before God. What happened in the next verse, Marie?
And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
Even if you go to hell, you're going to the lake of fire. Because even death and hell's going to the lake of fire. So think about that. And then, verse 15. Whoever is not found written, where at?
And the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
So you can get over going to hell. You can get over being afraid of going to hell. I ain't worried about going to hell, man. All my friends are going to be there. Are you going to get over going to the lake of fire? No. You might get over hell, but are you going to get over going to the lake of fire? Where is your faith at this morning? We're going to have altar call here now. You can exercise your faith coming to this altar. The Lord, save me. I don't want to go to hell. Lord, save me. I don't want to continue living like I've been living. I want to know you. I want to know you personally. I want to have a relationship with you personally. You can do that this morning. You can say, Lord, I want a relationship with you personally. Would you just forgive me for being the person I've been? Lord, forgive me of all my filthiness and unrighteousness. Make me clean. Make me like you'd want me to be. Lord, I believe you can do it. And I give you my life. In Jesus' name. We're going to have altar call now. If that sounds like something you want to do, come to the altar. God is going to be waiting for you here. Come talk to Him. Thank you.